Good morning, everyone. I am Jao Palacio, your next presenter for today. My topic is all about kinds of language tests. But before we proceed, let's define what is language tests. Language test is a psychomotor activity. It is the practice and study of evaluating the proficiency of an individual in using a particular language effectively. Traditionally, it is more concerned with the production, development, and an analysis of a test. In short, language test is where to determine a person's knowledge or an ability in the language and to disseminate that person's ability from others. The first topic is all about a framework for viewing the role of language testing. Within an instructional program, language teachers and course designers need to determine the best balance of three elements. The first one is the needs of learners. The second one is the materials and activities to meet those needs. And lastly, the testing procedures to determine if the program is meeting the needs of the learners and thus meeting its goals. And thus, meeting its goals, a language test should support the program by identifying the strengths and weaknesses of the language learners. Both the language teaching program should be based on the instructional needs of the learners. The great example of this is the curriculum triangle developed by Carroll in 1980. The figure indicates the interactive relationship which leads to effective way of resources within a language program. When designed and implemented in this matter, the instructional program and the testing program will work in harmony to meet the needs of language learners. When this occurs, beneficial backwash result. The second topic is general type of language tests. General types of language tests based on purposes. The first one is the placement tests. Placement tests are administered to make decisions about where a student should be placed within a language instructional program. In most cases, language learners with similar language ability should be grouped together. A placement test is usually given to a student entering an educational institution to determine specific knowledge or proficiency to appropriate courses or classes. For example, this assessment may be used to determine where a student is ready to take on English language courses or etc. The next one is diagnostic tests. Diagnostic tests are prepared to discover the strengths and weaknesses of language learners. This information is used to language instructors in helping the trainees to make improvements in their language skills. Diagnostic tests are basically sets of written questions to assess a learner's current knowledge on a topic to be studied. For example, I am your teacher and I am about to discuss grammar lesson next week. So I will give you a diagnostic test to determine your strengths and weaknesses about grammar. Let's move on to achievement tests. Achievement tests are administered to provide some indication of where their instructional goals are being met. Achievement tests are basically direct on the instructional content of the courses. Achievement test is there to measure the student's ability to apply what he or she learned for each topic. The great example of this is the NAT or National Achievement Test. The next one is proficiency test. Proficiency tests provides an opportunity to test the language skills of the learner when the testing objectives are tied not to the instructional objectives, but to the abilities in a language regardless of any specific instruction in it. For instance, English language. We use proficiency tests to measure the learner's levels of language. This will determine how he or she is proficient in using English language. The last one is the aptitude tests. Aptitude tests seek to provide some indication of an individual's ability to learn a language. Aptitude tests are used as a screening device to exclude some individuals from language studies or as an initial placement test, thus allowing a language program to group learners, scoring high or low on the aptitude tests in the separate classes. For examples, these are some examples of that aptitude tests. Verbal reasoning, diagrammatic reasoning, personality tests, cognitive ability, and many more. The next topic is all about general types of language tests based on responses. The first one is subjective tests. It is a test in which learners' ability or performance are judged by examiners' opinion and judgment. For examples, essays and reflection paper. And lastly, objective tests. It is a test in which learners' ability or performance are measured using a specific set of answers. Means there are two possible answers which is right and wrong. In other words, the score is according to right answers. The great example of these are true or false or multiple choices questions. And that concludes my report. Thank you and good morning.